What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for tuning in as always. As you've already seen in the title of today's video, we're going to be showing y'all how to or how we properly install our LP smart siding window trim on our windows. So we have all our setup, everything ready to go, all our pieces pre-cut. I'm going to show you how we measure, install it, how we put everything together. So we're going to go ahead and bring y'all to the table and show y'all. And just real quick, LP merch. We want to go ahead and thank LP for sending us all the merch that they have. We really appreciate it. We love y'all products. Thank y'all for taking care of us. We take care of y'all the same. So let's go ahead and get into today's video.
As we do our trim a little bit different, and I'll kind of explain why. These vinyl windows, when you install them, there's always a lip that hangs over. And what it does, it kind of, if you put your siding flush against the window and nail it onto the house, what it ends up doing is that it opens it up. Yeah. You never sit flush against the house because of the little lip that protrudes. All right, so you always have this issue where these pieces will be at an angle one way or the other. All right. All right,
You see your lip.
correct. So we do a couple different things different. I hate a 45. For me, 45 is nothing but a water trap. All right, water will come down right here, seep behind the caulking, get on this edge, and then swell this up. All right, so we do a few different things that kind of helps us redirect water and block water. All right, first thing I'll show you on the top. The same issue we have with the bottom, we have with the top, where the 45 becomes a water trap for us in this angle, right? So we kind of trim these out the old way. I kind of got this idea from old Victorian homes, different little style. I'll lap the top over the side, right? So it eliminates that water trap you have right here, and it kind of blocks that water going this way. All right, so with that lap here, and on the bottom, we did a little different too. On the bottom, instead of impeding the flow and making that water trap, I kind of make an exit for it.
Yep.
Right? So it allows us to also make some nice square quick corners. Sometimes you'll have a window that's not quite 45. You know, it's not, the edge, the ends aren't quite 90. So it always throws you 45 out a little bit. But keeping square on the edges just allows it to be a lot more true. You know, and the truer we get it, the cleaner it gets, the better it's together, the less water is behind it.
So this is our Crag Jig setup. As we talked about how we like to build our frames and put them on the window as one to help keep the fronts a lot smoother and everything. So what I do is we measure our window just like we showed y'all. Get the bottom even with the window, and then everything laps over that. The only thing we Crag Jig is the bottom and the top. So the bottom, we go ahead and Crag Jig like this. You put the back towards you. Unlock your Crag Jig. I put my sides almost even, and I like to put 3 holes. You can put 2, 3. I like doing 3. Lock it down. Get your Crag Jig bit. Set your depth. Run your Crag Jig hole. I run the 2 in here. Unlock it. Scoot it to this side, and I'm finished on my 3rd hole. Flip it over, repeat, do the same thing. And on my top piece, see, my side piece actually goes into my sides, and my top piece goes down. So on the top, I lock it down like this. I know that my side piece is a 5.5, so I like to put me a 5.5 inch mark and keep my 3 holes within that. I've got my top and my bottom pieces. Crag Jig, I went ahead and unlocked my Crag Jig from the table, moved it out the way. Your LP siding and trim comes with a protective coating on every piece, but when you cut it, it's exposed. So after you cut, before you put everything together, make sure that you go ahead and use whatever primer that LP recommends that you coat this with. That way everything's coated and sealed. So now I'm going to go ahead and put everything together. I like to put my bottom piece down. I'll go ahead and run my side pieces like this. I go ahead and lay everything upside down on my table like I'm going to install it. Turn my top piece. And now now, I'm gonna go ahead and crack everything together, which is super simple. I like to go ahead and drop all my screws in the holes, make everything faster for me. And another important thing, the reason I like to, you put it upside down like this, because obviously your screws on the back side, but also when you push down on it, even if you have some little variance in this, you want to make sure that your faces are exactly even, because when you flip and put on the window, it's going to look nice and smooth like we were saying. You don't want the differences, and especially no gaps, and the Crag Jig helps with that as well. So we're going to go ahead and make our sides even, make sure everything's square. We're going to push down, that way your faces are even, and you want to take your Crag Jig bit. And if you have a screw that sticks out like this, I like to go in reverse just for a second, let it seat, that way you don't come out the face. Run it back and forward and just lightly snug it up like that. You don't want to go any more tighter than that because it's gonna waddle out the hole in here and then you got a wasted board. Alright, so now for our top piece, go ahead and line it up. Make sure it's square. Push down. You see how it moves on your table? Push down, make sure everything stays straight and square. Run our screw down. And you see it closes that gap up. Do the same thing to all 3 screws, all the way around on every piece. Like that. And we're going to run our primer and we're going to show y'all how we install it as well. Okay, we're going to apply our primer to our cut edge. Just like that. That's perfect. You don't need no more than that. And make sure you apply it to all unfinished cut edges. That way everything's resealed back up. And now you're ready to install it. Alright guys, so now that I got my LP siding trim pre-built, I'm going to go ahead and try it out. I like to put my tops on first, let it hold its own weight, and then push. And there you go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and show you the process of actually securing it, taping it and sealing it up as we do.
Alright guys, you can see we've got it nailed up now. The way we kind of nail it up, we put one nail in place and then we check make sure our window is plumb and level. Because these vinyl windows sometimes have a little variance. They'll be a little bold, they'll be a little concave. So you know, to keep your trim straight, you want to always double check that. We put a few nails to tack it around just to secure it to the window, but we don't put all our nails just quite yet. We leave a few for when we're adding our siding and we're coming around and we have to adjust anything, so we can still move it a little bit. And then once we're putting siding around it, then we'll put our final nails around. We do nail a lot more than everybody else because we use a little bit of a smaller diameter nail because I don't like a lot of big holes through siding. In South Louisiana, we have a lot of rain, a lot of hurricanes. We had 6 last year we have to deal with, and we're real close to the coast, so we deal with a lot of water, a lot of moisture issues. I'd rather use a smaller nail and use more of them. It makes us, gives us more strength over the whole product, and we're not always depending on a big glob of caulk or silicone. Also, something else we do different. I like to put a Z flashing on the top of our siding. It's just another step for water prevention. What that does is it prevents water from getting behind it. It's just another step that we do. A lot of people consider that overkill. For us, it's just standard operating procedure. It's another little step that's helped us over the years to keep water from behind it and messing up our siding. We're also going to throw another roll of strip of tape above the flashing just to seal it until we have our siding. Once our siding comes, all this will be another layer actually helping it. So, a big advantage of using the Crag Jig and using this great LP trim is that when you have a huge big window like this, you can sit down in here in a nice warm room and make your trim all day long. Also, this is something you're never going to be able to do with hardy plank.
Exactly.
It ain't never happening.
It's strong.
You ain't never gonna move it. You ain't never gonna ever.
Do that with your hardy plank.
Do that with your hardy plank, call me. This is another big advantage of LP siding trim is like the size and the time it takes to do this. It takes no time, and look how light. You know, try to do this with harder plank. Alright guys, we kind of use the same principle on our corners and other places where we intersect 90s in the house, where we won't do 45, and we'll actually do laps this way. This on the corner of the house. What we normally do is we take our corners and we'll Crag Jig the entire length, right? And the reason I like to Crag Jig the entire length is a lot of times when you frame it, well not us, because we use great LP LSLs and beautiful weather logic, so we don't have a lot of corners that will have a lot of variances in it. Where you frame in a normal house and you have OSB or you have studs, man, that stud could turn, that corner could turn. You're always gonna have a little bit of a difference, you know, in materials as you're putting everything together. So it makes your corners kind of bow out. So to prevent that, we Crag Jig all our corners, kind of the same way we do the windows. All right. So when you come to put that corner on, she's not going nowhere. We also, I like to, I don't 45 our joints for the same reason we don't 45 the windows. Everything's a butt joint. Yeah. So I like to hide the butt joints. You know, if this is the front of the house, you know, we'll put the butt joints on the side.
Yep, and the same as on the windows, make sure you prime every single cut
Correct.
that you make.
Correct. A little tip the other day. This is the LP siding. We have it all cut to fit between these two spots. Another reminder, anytime you cut your LP side, make sure you prime it with the proper primer, right? Here's the way we install. I like to have my laps about 1 inch down, right? There's a bunch of different techniques and different styles to do this. This is my way. This is the way that I've learned over years and years of doing it. It's become a lot easier for me. Just because your carpenter doesn't do it this way, he's not wrong. He's just not doing it my way. All right. I'm gonna tag this real quick and I'll give you an explanation. These little chocks that I'm using right here, over the years, have become the best siding tool I own. I've spent so much money on little devices and little levers to hold the siding and little one-man operations, how you hook this and hook that, it all falls apart. This, I can make every morning brand new, right? It's a very simple little thing. It's a piece of siding, right? When I butt up the bottom of the little chop, the bottom of the siding, put my finger right here, I know that lap goes exactly there. Every time, right? If I lose it, well, I lost a big piece of scrap. So what? Right? Put your little chalk here. Put your lap on top. Once your lap is here, watch. Chalk. That's my exact measurement. Make sure you're straight. Once you're straight, put your tack. Check all your sides. Same way. I know I'm exact where I need to be. Pop the cap. Alright. And just like the trim, we'll do a little different. We apply a little bit more nails than required. Alright. Our nails will be a smaller diameter, but they are a good, strong finish nail. They are zinc coated. They do provide protection, but I do a lot more nailing. I like the face nail, especially on the laps right here. This is not required by the manufacturer, but it's required by Brian Marceau, this guy. Because in South Louisiana, if you don't, it will blow off. Yep. It is what it is. You know, this thing has to be able to take 150 to 200 mile an hour winds 6 times a year. Yeah. You know, we do this a little bit different than manufacturers. I don't leave the 3/16 gap that LP requires. Now, the reason why I feel like LP requires that, because they sell this over a huge area, right? So their instructions got to apply for Canada, their instructions got to apply for Arizona, their instructions got to apply for Florida. So are you going to sit down and make an individual list? Hey, if you live here, you got to... No, they don't. Yeah. They don't. So their instructions are broad, all right? Don't drop a message and say, hey, your carpenter's doing it wrong, or I'm doing... This is my way. This is the way that I've been successful for the last 30 years doing siding. We've done hardy plank this way, we've done redwood siding this way, we've done cedar siding this way, and don't fall off. So for us, I don't put a lot of faith in caulk. I don't put a lot of faith in silicone. I don't put a lot of faith in paint. You know, this is South Louisiana. Everything is harsh. Climate is harsh. We have to deal with a lot of heat, a lot of water, and when it does get cold, it's violent cold. Yeah. It's ugly cold. You know, caulk doesn't last in South Louisiana like it should last anywhere else. So for me, I don't put a lot of faith in it. My gaps are always going to be a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower, a little bit cleaner. Where LP says 3/16, I'm going to go an 1/8. You know, I think 1/16 is too tight because you get your little bit of swelling, you will buckle. But I think 3/16 is too much. You know, once you got one piece of lumber right here, can you imagine 3/16 on both sides? That's 3/8. So now I have 3/8 of an inch that I have to worry about if the caulk is going to fail or if it's going to, you know, remain solid through the next 50 years. You know, I don't put a lot of faith in caulk. Just because I don't use 3/16, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use 3/16. Use what's comfortable for you. Use what's good in your area. Pay attention to the master carpenters. Pay attention to the guys that have been doing it for 50 years. You know, they may have some tricks of the trade or what works better in their area. You know, what may work great for us in South Louisiana might not work great in Canada. Might not work in California. Might not work on the East Coast. You know, pay attention to where you're at. Pay attention to what guys do in your area that been successful for a long period of time, because he knows what's going on. Now, also, you know, you're cutting stuff down to the 16.
Yep.
You know, so you have a variance of I want an 1/8. LP wants 3/16, and that blade on that saw is an 1/8 wide.
Correct.
You know, and it'll vary, it'll wobble, it'll do certain things. So it's never gonna be an exact.
Right.
You know, if you get to a point where you have two butt splices and they're jointed up and it gets too tight, all right, and one starts to buckle, that's an easy fix with LP siding. It's so easy. You come under here with a little flat bar or a little wedge. You could drop a little wedge. Say your butt splice is right here. You just pick this piece up, run you a flush cut along that line, give some relief, pull the excess out, pop it right back and nail it up.
Right, and where you would have better luck with this, you're probably not gonna have that greater luck with hardy plank because 9 out of 10 times it will chip.
You won't have that kind of luck with just a cheap masonite siding with chip.
Correct.
You know, this stuff is just great. I've never worked on anything better.
Nope, I agree.
Beautiful.
Alright guys, so that's going to be it for today's video of how Fixin the Coast installs Louisiana Pacific smart siding and trim on our LP houses that we build. Drop a like if you have any comments or questions or concerns. Drop them in the comment section. We'll answer them the best we can. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you can tune in to our future videos of these great LP products. Be sure to check out Mo Lumber. They stock the full LP line of products for us and just about any other products that you'll need in your home building or renovation project. I'll go ahead and drop their phone number right here. They help us out tremendously, get anything that we need or that we need to get for our jobs. And I promise you they'll do the same thing for you to take very good care of us. So thank y'all for tuning in as always. Y'all have a good one and stay warm.